Liverpool fan in Japan.
Hello YouTube, Liverpool fan in Japan here, the Miyazaki man Sai, and I'm delighted to be joined again by Anfield Agenda's Craig. How are you doing, my man?
All good, thank you, Si. All good, thank you. How could I not be after such a great weekend?
Absolutely. It's just what you want going into an international break. Now we have weeks to ponder on the potential of this Arne slot machine Liverpool team. Now, this is just the beginning. He's only given us the starter. The main course is yet to come. How do you think the next few fixtures are going to go, considering that fixture list is quite juicy, right? Nottingham Forest at home next.
Yeah, you're looking at the next couple of games and you're thinking we could easily go 5 from 5 here. And of course, we have Federico Chiesa to be introduced to the Anfield faithful as well, most likely in that Nottingham Forest game.
Absolutely. And you know what's a really, really tasty conundrum that Arne Slot's going to have to think about is which subs squeeze onto the bench, because someone is going to have to miss out from a very, very talented pool of players. And I don't want to be, in that dressing room when Harvey Elliott or Tsimikas or Conor Bradley this week. Sorry, mate, you're not on there. Who do you think just misses out for Chiesa on the bench?
It's a difficult one, isn't it? Because you want to make sure that you've got options in every area. So you need a centre-back on there. You need a full-back on there. Looking at midfield, we're quite stacked there. I would imagine it's going to be somebody from midfield, whether it's Elliott, Jones, somebody like that, that's unfortunately going to miss out. But competition is good, isn't it, Si? You want these headaches, these conundrums. It's better than having to find a solution that doesn't really fit. So it is difficult, but that's what the manager gets paid the big bucks for.
Exactly. And it gives a bit of impetus for training as well. Whoever performs in training, who deserves their place. And that's exactly what it should be. And this comes beautifully onto the next topic as well. So contract renewals, right? Salah is smiling. Salah is happy. Trent Alexander-Arnold's kissing the camera. Virgil van Dijk leading from the back, telling Lisandro Martinez, come on then, bring it on. See if you can take me on next, not Tommy Soblas in midfield. So with contract renewals in mind, what is your current perspective on it? Do you think 2 of the 3 will sign? Do you think they're going to leave it towards the latter part of the season, see how things go under Arne Slot? Or do you think at the moment it's the least of our concerns at the moment, focus one game at a time?
It's so difficult, isn't it? I mean, before we go into that, I guess I just want to touch on Chiesa again for one second. I've never seen somebody look so happy to be signing for Liverpool Football Club. That signing day vlog was so heartwarming, so uplifting. It was beautiful to see how he and his family were enjoying the experience of coming to play for Liverpool. So I just wanted to talk about that really quickly.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's a difficult one, the contract renewals, because as fans, we want 2 to 3 years for Mo, 2 to 3 years for Virgil, and obviously 4 to 5 years for Trent. But I do think if I was in Michael Edwards' shoes, it must be very tempting to just give in now and give the contract renewals. But my concern about Mohamed Salah has never been how he started the season.
Sure.
It's how he manages the rest of the season, particularly after Christmas. That being said, Si, I think this is where Federico Chiesa and Arne Slot's substitutions and man management, particularly with the load on the players, will benefit Mohamed Salah. So I think you've got to start and get Trent done first, for obvious reasons. He's 25 years of age, vice-captain, local boy. Get that one sorted out so Real Madrid aren't sniffing around. And then you would imagine, if I was Michael Edwards and Richard Hughes, I'd feel very comfortable offering Virgil and Mohamed a 2-year contract with an option of a 3rd. I don't know whether that option can be triggered by the player or the club or both. I mean, that's up for debate. It's so difficult because they can't do any more than they're doing on the pitch. Mohamed Salah has started the season incredibly well. Goals and assists everywhere, looking physically sharp, smiling, looking happy. And factually, what he said at the end of the United game was correct. It is, as of right now, his last season. It's been blown out of all proportion. I view that as a negotiating tactic, and a very clever one, because if I was in his shoes, I'd do the same. So it is difficult. We want them to stay. I'm sure the club do as well, but they got to be very mindful of a potential fall-off down the line. We've seen it in the Premier League before. The likes of Alexis Sanchez, Mesut Ozil, and others who've got that contract and fallen away. Now, the difference is Mohamed Salah is here to break records. Mohamed Salah is here for the history books, and I don't see him falling away. The only solution is to extend all 3. How they get that done? I guess, again, talking about the big bucks, that's why Richard Hughes and Michael Edwards get paid what they get paid.
Exactly. And for me, the omens are very, very good. So Liverpool have historically, especially in the Jurgen Klopp years, retained the core of the squad, right? We're no longer just a stepping stone. We are the destination. You become part of the family, part of the house that we're building, that dynasty. Salah's been a big part of it. Van Dijk's been a big part of it. Now, some people kind of get a little bit tired of the same philosophy day in, day out, but we've got a new start with Arne Slot. And he's got his new ideas, new philosophy, and new voice as well. And the players seem to be really enjoying it. As you said, Mo Salah with a big smile as well. Trent Alexander-Arnold, right, in his prime years, future Liverpool captain if he stays, one-of-a-kind player in world football. I think he's just looking for that contract that rewards him appropriately. Similar to Mo Salah, he's been there, he's done it, he's chasing records, he's still got the motivation. And Liverpool is built to take advantage of all of his best attributes as well. So there's that going for him as well. Virgil van Dijk, obviously club captain as well. And one thing I really think Liverpool is very good at doing is transitioning the player from being a permanent starter, and when they do age and when the fitness does go down a bit, utilizing their strengths in key moments. Instead of starting every game, we say, okay, you start the crucial games. We'll rotate you, we'll give you that rest. Arne Slot's injury record is fantastic as well. And Liverpool's respect and appreciation, giving Nat Phillips that big contract, for example, as rewards for, his heroism. I think there will be a point in time, maybe January or beyond, where they will sit down for the serious contract negotiations, and one way or another, they'll probably make the decision, but not announce it for a while. But one thing that really gives me confidence, it will be a 2 or 3 year contract, is the fact that a lot of the fans are thinking, oh, we need to get a fee for Salah. We need to get, money. We need to get a fee. It's not about that. He's a living legend. He's up there with Kenny Dalglish and Gerrard in my estimations for the heroes. There's a mutual respect there, and they'll do it the proper way, the Liverpool way. So whatever happens at the end of the day, we have seen the best years of these players, and they've been amazing for us. And, full respect for them for doing what's right for their family and themselves and their career. But at the same time, we've got a season here to win under Arne Slot. And I think Johnny Rep as well said, Arne Slot, first season in Premier League, we think he'll win it. And one of the big reasons that's come out from Holland as well is, how reliant do you think Manchester City are on Erling Haaland, right? We seem to have the ability to have firepower from all areas of the field, but everything's channeled to Erling Haaland. What if he gets injured? Would that be a big decisive factor?
Look, you can only give the man his flowers at the minute. Erling Haaland has started this season insane. He looks physically a beast. He is scoring goals for fun, all different kinds of goals. You are right. They've no Julian Alvarez to fall back on now. Savinho's only just in the door. That's right. And if Haaland does go true to form, which is having a couple of injuries throughout the campaign as he has done, yes, maybe those wheels fall off. For us, I think we need to stay in striking distance of Manchester City. We can't let them build up a lead. Pep Guardiola's teams over the history of his time in management have built up leads and won a league at a canter by February or March time so often. If we can stay there within striking distance, as you've touched on with Arne, managing the squad, the minutes, the load on those players, I think we could have a different end to the campaign and we won't fall away as we have in previous seasons. I have to say, Si, I've been so impressed with not just the results, because they speak for themselves, but how Arne has tactically broken down the opposition, made the little minor adjustments he's needed to, and he looks and sounds like he knows he's where he belongs, at the level he belongs. Whereas if you contrast that to Eric Ten Hag's post-match press conferences, he's clutching at straws. He's trying to put this falsehood out there that they're the second best team after Manchester City of the last couple of seasons. They are, if you look at it purely from trophies. But we can't look at it like that. We've got to look at a 5-0 loss, a 7-0 loss, beaten by Manchester City convincingly, finishing 8th in the league, being bottom of a Champions League group. They are no fear for the top places in the Premier League. So we enjoy this result against them, but they are a weak opposition. Our big tests are still to come. Manchester City, Arsenal, Chelsea, those type of games. Yeah. If we can get our head-to-heads, and I think you mentioned this to me the last time we spoke, the top 6 games against our rivals, if we can improve on that from last season, who knows where we're going to end up by the end of this campaign?
Absolutely agree. Yes, I did mention in the live stream on the weekend in the Battle of the Bolds, we've struck gold with Arne Slot because it's those little adjustments that are so superb, real tactician at heart. And he pinpointed it at the end, right? Szoboszlai played right midfield, right-sided 8, transitioning to 10 for the first 2 games. We know his bromance with Trent Alexander-Arnold, his covering for Trent, his ability to cross from right-hand side. But he purposely put him on the left-hand side for this particular game, with McAllister floating towards the left as well to give Gravenberch that whole right channel, because that encouraged Man United to go towards that area with Casemiro, which is where we've pinched him a few times, gives Gravenberch a head of steam on Casemiro, and Trent is the extra man in the midfield. So it's almost Trent and Gravenberch on the right, and Dominic Szoboszlai and McAllister on the left. Now, Eric Ten Haag was bedazzled. He just could not get a hold on that midfield at all. And that midfield gave us the basis to dominate the game. It stretched their midfield and their forward line so far apart that they could never connect. All they could do was hit and hope. And the fact that Arne Slot can identify these little tactical switches that make a huge impact in the game, that's such a big confidence boost going into those big top 6 matches. You got to imagine he's going to expose Ange Postecoglou's high line. But in Pep Guardiola's team, from what you've seen of Manchester City so far, are there any weaknesses? Have you been able to see any little dinks in armour that we can get into?
The defence. If I'm being honest with you, I don't think their defence is as good as other areas on the pitch. Obviously, them bringing back in Gundogan it's worrying. He's an incredible footballer, and to get him back into the fold there, it does seem like they've somehow strengthened without having to spend money there. I think their defence, I don't believe their defence is as good, especially with their goalkeeper, as in years gone by, and especially if you contrast that and compare it to Arsenal's defence, I think is a lot stronger. So it's very difficult to try to pick holes in that team. But one player who I want to just bring up for special praise is Ryan Gravenberch.
Oh, yes.
He was, I don't think good covers it. He was sensational. He showed every aspect of his game. Most interceptions, I believe, with 7 in the game as well.
Yeah.
Breaking the line. I mean, the one that was ruled out, the goal that was ruled out, that ball played into him from Virgil, and the way he took it in, turned, dropped his shoulder, and left the Manchester United midfield for dead was breathtaking sight. It was phenomenal. And imagine, I know everyone's going to say, maybe we don't need a number 6 now. I'm going to say, imagine we had 2 players of that caliber bouncing and pushing each other for a starting place. We could rest, rotate, and who knows what the future might hold. But I just wanted to bring up Ryan for special praise because we talked about McAllister and Szoboszlai, and rightly so, but Ryan Gravenberch's eye was next level. The best player on the pitch for me that day.
Me too. Phenomenal. Special gravy. Him and Mo Salah absolutely turned on the style. Now, here's a hypothetical for you. I know you wanted the additional number 6 alongside Gravenberch. If you could turn back time in hindsight, would you prefer signing that 6? We don't need to mention names. Signing that additional 6 and we start the season again, or carry on the season with Gravenberch in this form and this flavour and in this mood with 3 wins under the belt? Which one?
I'll always go for the additional player, purely because I know somebody's going to pick up a knock and an injury. And also the load that we've spoken about. Imagine we can keep Ryan Gravenberch at peak fitness levels through managing him with another number 6. Now, I'll tell you what I am open to. Maybe this is a little bit fairer. I'm open to Stefan having a great season with Salzburg and coming back in. That's the dream scenario, right? Then we don't have to go back into the market. Stefan's going to be playing Champions League football. He's going to be coached by Pep Linders, a coach who knows him really well, knows what Liverpool need from him this season is minutes. That could be the solution here. We'll talk about maybe Zubamendi in January because that started to rear its head over the last 24 hours. But I'm open to that. I mean, I just want the positions to be filled, Si. I'm not somebody who just wants to spend money for the sake of it. I really do feel with the load that we're going to have on them, we'll naturally pick up injuries. If we can limit them through managing minutes, all the better. But I would always go for the extra body.
Indeed, indeed. It's a squad game after all. I know the squad will be tested to its limits in the next few weeks because I think it's like 2 games every week, isn't it? There's a midweek game and it'll be fantastic to see, those fringe players in and around the first team, how they can break into the team, whether they can stay in the team. But something I particularly like about Arne Slot's team, and he showed at Feyenoord as well, even if consistently the team is playing well, he's prepared to gamble on the attributes of a particular player to unlock the door for the opposition. So you might see a Harvey Elliott coming in the 10. You might see a Harvey Elliott start on the right and a Mo Salah shifted inside. Paixão and Minte were very, very different type of wingers, but they really, really offered different attributes. And I think Arne Slot looks at the players as what attributes can you offer me in your particular role, and then we'll work around with that. And Darwin Núñez, I think a lot of fans on the weekend, right? By the time Darwin Núñez came on, the game was already dead. We weren't really with the attacking verb. We weren't trying to bust a gut to break down the doors.
No Trent as well.
Right. Yep, that's right. That's right. And he made the right run twice where he would have been directly in if he was found. Szoboszlai once on the right-hand side, should have bent it across, and he would have definitely gotten there. And there's a straight line run where he was off the shoulder. Our midfielder turned, and he could have played him in. but he still didn't let his head get down. He tracked all the way back to make a clearance, to make a tackle back in our half, to keep the clean sheet. Great attitude with Luis Diaz scoring a goal as well. I think he's got a higher ceiling than Santiago Jimenez at Feyenoord. If Arne Slot can work his magic on Nunes to give us that additional option, then that's the firepower that's scary, right? Because we have goals throughout the whole team, including the midfield. And I just want to say a quick word on Jota. Jota, even though he didn't score and he wasn't having his best game, his pressing instincts were phenomenal, because we have a kind of W press with Luis Diaz slightly behind Jota, and then Szoboszlai, and then Mo Salah. Jota was directing, orchestrating the press, left, right, centre, back and forwards. He is kind of like the leader of the forwards in that unit, and the pressing game is really on. Very impressive. Have you been impressed with our press this season?
Incredibly impressed with it, particularly if they do break through the forward line. Midfield don't give them any space. We see how many times we turn the ball over and win it back in midfield against Manchester United. Actually, to flip that on its head a little bit, I was also really impressed with how Arne Slot spoke about the slight differences in United's forward press from how we've seen them play previously. I thought that was very interesting as well to hear from him. He has been so impressive, Si, hasn't he? There's no more doubts about his tactical acumen or his ability as a coach. I know a lot of people were worried about him coming in after Jurgen, but you can see why he was chosen. He oozes confidence, he oozes ability, and in every game that we've seen so far, he's made the small tweaks necessary. Against Manchester United, I loved how he spoke about us conceding chances after we've made those substitutions. Like you've said, we took off players that maybe could have benefited Darwin Núñez with those runs. Trent was the one I brought up, but he also spoke of how we conceded more chances after that, and that if we didn't take our eyes off the prize maybe, or if we weren't in relaxation mode because the game was won, he doesn't believe those chances would have been created by Manchester United. So all in all, between our forward press, our midfield press, and his ability to read the opposition press, it's just been incredible. The start of the season has been near perfect.
It really has. And even like the minute detail, as you mentioned, even from the throw-ins, right? I've noticed a significant change in that a lot of time we try to throw it in the diagonals into a player that runs into the space. But now we're just happy to play it simple. We give it to the player and carry on the play. Back around it goes again, and off you go. We're not trying to be too intricate into, those little pieces of detail. Arne Slot just wants possession of the ball and to destroy the opposition whilst having the ball and having the extra runners move around as well. And one of the things is with substitutions as well, he's not showing any favoritism. He's doing something to influence the game, to affect the game. And if it happens negatively, he's not afraid to point out he made those substitutions, and he would be honest enough to say this is what happened in the game and give his true perspective on it. And I think some of the commenters like Gary Neville and Roy Keane and Melissa Reddy and everyone, when you're in the same room as Arne Slot, his brutal honesty and clarity in what he's explaining, the aura of the man, it befuddles them. They're like almost speechless for like a few seconds before they give the response. And he's like dominating the room, and he's only been here for 3 matches in a row. He has got that aura, hasn't he?
He has. He's a very different man to Jurgen. Jurgen almost relied on his larger-than-life personality, his charisma to encapsulate a room. I mean, not with his man management skills or his football management skills. They speak for themselves. But Arne's very calm, reassured, convincing is another word. I mean, every word that comes out of his mouth, I find myself just nodding along, going, yes, Arne, yes, Arne. And as you said, he came in to hear Gary Neville speak about Manchester United's midfield being better than our midfield coming into this game is laughable. Absolutely laughable. When you have somebody on, what is he on, 400,000, 500,000 pound a week, Casemiro, getting substituted for a kid at half time. Don't talk to us about midfields, thank you. I will take our World Cup winning Argentinian, our young Dutch ace, and of course Dominic Szoboszlai over those Manchester United midfielders. I'll give Kobe Mainoo his credit. He's a very good up-and-coming young midfielder. But Neville needs to stop talking because he looks very silly at the moment. Arne, as you've said, every post-match interview I've seen, post-match press conference, he doesn't belittle anybody. He just sticks to the facts, gives his honest opinions. You can agree with him, you can not agree with him, but you can't feel anything other than confidence and in the man's ability because he knows what he's about. Sipka Hulshoff as well, I've been keeping a little eye on him on the sidelines to see what their dynamic is like. And of course, Ruben Peters, warm downs after the game, all these little small things that you're looking at just to see the differences. I like the little fist pump rather than the crazy celebrations when we scored our goals. Even when the goal was ruled out, you could see him up to the linesman or excuse me, fourth official asking why it was ruled out. No arguing, no shouting back, just kind of, and then walked off. Been really impressed with how he's carried himself.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think the players are really buy into that, because if us as fans, and we're only exposed to, you know, tidbits when he gives an interview, a public interview or a live press conference, for the players in the training ground, in the AXA Trading Academy as well, to hear his words day in, day out, and, you know, with the logic and the kind of clarity of thought, they really buy into what he's saying, because Luis Diaz cutting inside from the left wing 9 out of 10 times in the previous seasons would look to shoot and bend it across goal. But every single time he's cut in, he's got the head up and he's seeing if he can slip Salah in on opposite wing. He's seeing if he can slip on the lateral, because Arne Slot is wanting to get players in between the goalposts, in between the laterals, before they take the shot. I'm almost convinced that's why Dominic Szoboszlai didn't shoot. Everyone's shouting, shoot! Dominic Szoboszlai, shoot! You know, when he got that clear chance. Because I think in the corner of his eye, he saw the player sliding in, which means he has to get loft on the ball to beat the player. He can't go in the middle of the goal because it's easier for Onana, so he has to go relatively high. And maybe Arne Slot's drilled into them. If you're not 100% sure that that ball is going to end up in the net, then have the bravery to hold on to the ball or play the extra pass, even if he messed it up. And I think that philosophy is going to be really effective for Luis Diaz, especially because, you know, sometimes he is a bit head down. But also Curtis Jones, if he can get over the injury niggles as well. And if they are willing to play that pass and get a head up early, for Darwin Núñez as well, because if they can hit that ball early as well, then all the pieces of the puzzle, you know, we've got those raw potential, those pieces. If we can fit them together, then that is going to be a main course worth waiting for if, you know, if it gets to the ultimate evolution of slot ball in the middle of the season.
Absolutely. Do you know what? I've been a little bit surprised to hear some people talk about boring. Some people mention the style of being a bit boring. I'm not at all bored. I think it's ruthlessly efficient, and I love it. I mean, if we need to move the ball side to side 2 to 3 times to find the perfect passing channel, better do that than giving the ball away. Better than turning it over. And like you said, those half spaces that we've been attacking, I've noticed what you said about that run as well. You see Lucho cut inside. There's been a lot of reverse balls back into that left channel for an overlapping run from Andy Robertson or somebody else. That is nice to see because, as you've mentioned, in years gone by, he'd cut inside, fire a shot away, it'd be blocked, it would go into the stands, and 1 out of every 20 might go towards the goal. And I think that's the efficiency that Arne Slot wants to introduce, as you've said. Only take these shots, only make these final plays if you feel like it is the right decision, the right option. Don't just go off instinct. And that will only improve as the season goes on as well, because repetition is something that these guys need. And the movements, getting used to the little intricacies of where their teammates are going to be huge. There was one more issue actually that I wanted to bring up about Arne Slot and the forward line in particular, is that I'm really interested to see how he utilises Federico Chiesa, because we think of him as being a bit of an alternative to Mohamed Salah, but he's played most of his minutes centrally at Juventus. So the ability to have that breadth of opportunity across the front line is going to be phenomenally interesting. And Chiesa doesn't look to me like he's come to just make up the numbers. He wants to be serious, and he wants to write his own chapter in Liverpool's history. So interested to know what you think on how we're going to utilise Federico Chiesa when the games come thick and fast.
Absolutely. I love Federico Chiesa as a player. And just to digress just a little bit, when his missus and him were walking around, you know, taking it all in, it wasn't just himself. His missus was so happy for him. She was really, this is your day. This is your moment. You've got the shirt. You could see it on her face as well that she was really chuffed to bits, you know, with her hubby, you know, having a great time, taking it all in, doing the interviews and giving the little piece and thumbs up as well. So that was a beautiful thing. But in terms of Chiesa, one thing that I think is a massively underrated attribute in this Liverpool squad and in the Arne Slot team is game intelligence. Now, Chiesa has huge game intelligence. He's well spoken as well, especially in Italian when he speaks to the native. So does Diogo Jota. So does Mohamed Salah. Question marks 1 or 2 of the other forwards, but some of the game intelligence attributes really play a part into the positional play as well. So you talked about Chiesa going centrally and on the left as well. Chiesa can play as a shadow striker, but I think he really likes those direct diagonal runs and the really penetrative runs. I'm reminded of Kaoru Mitoma at Brighton, right? Most players like Pedro Neto and other wingers have to use a bit of skill and go around the player. Kaoru Mitoma can slow down, speed up, slow down, and accelerate in a straight line, straight through the heart in a straight line run for the fact that the ball is always on the outside of his foot. He's actually written a PhD thesis on the fact that he controls the ball 90% of the time on the outside of his foot because it allows his back foot to burst. And with that kind of coup de burst up front, you have a more direct route to goal. And I think Chiesa is of the same kind of type. So Chiesa will try to get closer to the goal, play the 1-2s, and he'll spot the opportunity, sniff the opportunity, and he wants the goal metrics. And you're completely right in saying that he won't be happy with a bench. He will want to be a starter. He's got the high pedigree. He performed in the Euro finals, you know. He is an international, a thoroughbred. He's had the ACL injury, but so has Darwin Núñez. Darwin Núñez has had the ACL injury in his early career as well, and that's not done him any harm. Only thing I worry about, though, is can he consistently find his position there, or will he be part of the rotation? Because, as you know, we are firing on all cylinders at the moment. It looks like Diogo Jota is the starting number 9 for now. Luis Diaz is the starting left winger. And Mo Salah, obviously, on the right wing. Of these positions, which one do you think he's most likely to find a home if he is to get a consistent run of games?
So, initially, I would have thought right side of attack for Mohamed Salah if and when he needs a rest. But, you know, I'm wondering if Diogo picked up a knock and Arne wasn't happy with how Darwin was progressing. I can see a world where maybe he comes through the centre, you know. Or maybe he pushes Mohamed into the centre and he slips Chiesa into the right channel.
Yeah.
This is the joy of having players like Mohamed Salah, Federico Chiesa and Diogo Jota is they can play right across that front line. I mean, I am interested. I wonder if Diogo Jota picked up an injury tomorrow. I do wonder for the Nottingham Forest. Well, for that game, maybe you'd go with Darwin because of a lack of repetition for Chiesa. But in the future, I could see a world where maybe he does operate as that number 9 and perhaps drops a little bit deeper at times to open up space in behind for Salah and Diaz. Loads of options, and we could sit here and we could debate back and forth for the next 10 minutes, but it's a good debate. It's a happy debate because it's a debate about options, not a debate about trying to just find solutions from elsewhere. Bona fide, credible options. So our attack is tremendous. Where do you think Chiesa will find his home?
I think predominantly, as you mentioned, it's going to be on the right-hand side initially because when you have such a potential monster in Darwin Núñez, right, you do have to get the ability out of him and give him that time to get on the pitch and show his worth, right? There's the mental side of it and the physical side of it and the match fitness. So I think Jota and Núñez is probably the rotation for the middle. So all being truthful, I think Chiesa is the Mo Salah competition, and to keep Mo Salah fresh, because as you know, Mo Salah does tire towards the end of the season, especially, you know, going in towards February and March kind of time where the form does drop. But one thing I've noticed as well, Salah's sprinting statistics, he's been doing more intense sprints this season than any previous season, and it's ramped up. And it might be because of the position that he starts in, because he's starting not as out wide where he has to stand a man up and really, you know, pace it, take his time there, but towards closer to the goal. When it is time to make that sprint, he's going to go for a goal metric. He's going to go for a goal contribution, which is why he's probably, you know, really keen to make those sprints because he wants to get the goal contributions and get right up there. I think Chiesa's ability to shoot off both feet and ability to dribble off both feet is a big attribute, as well as his physicality and aerial ability. So if you imagine that Mo Salah is probably the weakest of that front line aerially, are we in agreement?
Yes.
Yeah. So Cody Gakpo's probably got the best delivery from out wide of these forward players, like really out wide, across an Ashley Young style, a Rashford style, cut inside, whipping it to the back post. So in a world where you put Chiesa on the right, you've got Diogo Jota and Núñez who can go towards the back post as well. There's your new threat right there that we haven't seen in slot ball yet. But if the game's not going your way and you can't cut your way through them, then you bombard that right post from the left-hand side with a Cody Gakpo, and you put all your shooters on the edge of the area, your Dominic Szoboszlai, your Trent Alexander-Arnold, and then let's see what happens. Let's go direct and get some joy out of there. And that's what I think Chiesa will bring, some physicality, some directness, and a long-range shot as well. We've got so many long-range shooters in the team. Who do you think will score the first absolute belter of the season, the long-range pile driver?
Okay, initially my mind saying Alexis McAllister or Dominic Szoboszlai. That would be where my initial thoughts are. Every time either one of those two pick up the ball in and around the edge of the box, I'm almost expecting rather than hoping. How about yourself?
my money's on Trent Alexander-Arnold. He's smelling the metrics this season. He's getting into that high position to really let loose. I mean, he almost got one at Man United, right? Because it wasn't really a long-range power drive. It was more of a short-range smack the person back into the goal as well. But
and that came, by the way, with one of those reverse balls you were speaking about inside.
Yes. Indeed. And Gravenberch as well. I really think Gravenberch can hit a good shot, but he's a little bit gun-shy. Like Szoboszlai's a little bit gun-shy considering how good his long shot actually is. But even Endo, even Van Dijk from the back line, even Alisson Becker, of course, we've got so many goals in and amongst the teams. Do you think this is going to be the season that Joey Gomez finally breaks the deadlock and gets the goal?
He was looking closer and closer and closer as he played on the left side of the defence, wasn't he? It suited him naturally to cut back inside then, and he was even creating chances at the far post. Andy Robertson, by the way, could have had a couple of goals this season already as well, with moves to the back post. One thing I've noticed from Arne Slot, maybe I've misread this, but it seems like we're creating overloads, particularly at the far posts on occasions, and this is something that I like. You look at the goal Diaz scored, we had two fellas at the back post, Szoboszlai and Diaz, both there. And you got to give credit to Mohamed Salah as well for his distribution. We talk about his goals and his assists, but just even his passing ability and his awareness of his teammates, I think, has come on leaps and bounds.
Yep, agreed, absolutely agreed. And one kind of vital aspect that I think is slightly underlooked is the fact that we retained Queeve Kelleher and we retained Joe Gomez, right? These were absolutely vital players for last season. Joe Gomez left back, Queeve Kelleher coming in because of Alisson's injury. The fact that they're there, haven't complained or said a word, professional, knuckling down, training hard. When we come up to these run of fixtures, that second line is going to be very, very important. And when you look beyond the first 11, it's the squad that wins you the trophies, right? The first 11 can win you a game, but Kelleher, Gomez, Tsimikas, Connor Bradley especially, right? Kwanzaa, who started the season as a first choice, Endo, Curtis Jones, Harvey Elliott, Chiesa now to the mix, Cody Gakpo and Darwin Núñez. That second string team could have beaten Man United.
Yes, they most probably would have beaten Man United. I think I said it to you the last time we spoke. Keeping Joe Gomez to me is really important because he's 1.5 players in my eyes. So I feel a lot more comfortable going into the season with just 4 centre-backs, having him there, because he can also cover in other positions. I would have preferred the 5th option, even if it was a young player. But, as you've said, retaining Gomez and Kelleher, I definitely take that as a win through the window.
Absolutely. And in terms of the kind of youngsters coming through as well, it's unfortunate Jayden Dan's got that injury, but that does mean that he has the chance to come off the bench or make an impact in the cup games as well. But of those that went out on loan, so Kumas has started the season on fire. He's got striking instincts, a good shot on him, good temperament as well. We've obviously lost Bobby Clark permanently to Salzburg as well. We know that Bajcetic has that high potential because Arne Slot individually picked him out and said he just needs game time. We would have liked it to be here, but we want him to be playing consistently, and let's see what can happen there. Of that crop of youngsters, that generation coming through, who is the one, do you think, will have an actual impact, rather than just playing regularly, but will have the breakout to really establish themselves as a potential first-team choice? And I know Enyoni is also there in the mix, right? So who for you is the wonder kid of wonder kids in our ranks? It's
got to be either Trey Enyoni or Jayden Dans. It has to be one of those two. I think Kumas is he's going to have the same problem Connor Bradley has. I don't know what wide forward or what forward he potentially moves out in the near future, because we spoke about the options we have in that position. Jayden Dans could, in 2 years, very well be competing with Darwin Núñez. I fully believe that. I'm interested to see how he utilises Tyler Morton this season, having kept him at the club. It'll be interesting when he wants to give that break to Ryan Gravenberch to see if he does look to Endo or Tyler Morton. That's something I'm intrigued to see. Right now, I don't know the answer to that question because we haven't had to see it yet, but it is interesting to me that they did keep Morton and they were willing to sell him, but not loan him.
Yeah, so I'm really fascinated by the options he has, because when you look at Ryan Gravenberch and what he's capable of, right? So you look at legends of the past, people like to bring up Ruud Gullit and Frank Rijkaard. Obviously, Gullit's multifaceted, Rijkaard's destroyer, good technical ability. There's a player called Wim van Hanegem, who was a very, very prominent Dutch holding player, could do everything, multifaceted as well. He's got a bit of Edgar Davids in him, that bite in him, that aggression, right? But that coolness and technique. he can do everything. But when you look at Morton and when you look at Endo, Endo's predominantly a destroyer, but he's also a facilitator of the midfield. He makes the other players in midfield look better because he will cover their lines and allow them to go forward. You look at Tyler Morton and he's more of the Zubimendi mold, a distributor. He's elegant with the ball. He's silky. He's technical. He will receive the ball and play the ball, a bit of a metronome as well. I think when we're up against the feisty battles in midfield, you're looking at maybe your Chelseas and your Arsenals. If Gravenberch doesn't start or is injured, it's going to be someone like Endo that comes in because you scrap for the second balls to give yourself a platform to play. When you're against the teams that perform a low block, your Nottingham Forests or your Burnleys or whoever, or in the Cup, you're going to need someone who can move the ball with tempo, control the ball, get a foothold of the game, and distribute the ball around. So I think rather than personnel, it's more about the attributes of the players and what Arne Slot's trying to do in the system. Now, this is something I've heard from a lot of fans, especially on Reddit or in the forums as well. They're like, and this is why they slight Endo. They're like, if Gravenberch gets injured, Endo can't do what Gravenberch needs to do. But any coach worth their salt, he doesn't need to do what Gravenberch needs to do. If you've got Endo, you play to Endo's strengths. You mold the team and you mold the tactics for what the players on the pitch can actually do, right? If your game-winning condition is Erling Haaland, you don't need a Cristiano Ronaldo on the left because he's not going to pass to an Erling Haaland. You don't need an Arjen Robben on the right. You build a team to feed Erling Haaland the ball where he needs to go, right? So that's the kind of philosophy why a lot of the fans slight players because of the name, because any coach worth the salt will get the best out of the players, the 11 on the pitch and make it work. So I think there's a time and place for all of the squad members, and especially Cup hero last season, Kostas Tsimikas, winning condition to Virgil van Dijk, header on the ball, Endo playing the full game as well, holding at the base. Who do you think is going to be the surprise package? Not necessarily a youngster, but is going to surprise a few people the way that Ryan Gravenberch has, done?
It's a good question. It is a difficult one to answer because I rate Conor Bradley really highly straight away. We know all about young Jarell Quansah. It's hard to really pick a surprise package from the team. I mean, could Darwin count? Because I've had so many people write him off, whereas I don't understand that yet. If it was still Jurgen at the club, I probably would have carried over some more doubts. But I do get the feeling that Arne Slot will be able to explain to Darwin in better terms what he wants from him. So I'm going to say Darwin's going to score 25 to 30 goals in all competitions. So that's going to be my surprise. It's difficult to pick a surprise side because, as you said, we're leaving out England under 21 internationals as we can't fit them into the matchday squad. So it's hard to pick somebody coming through. Other than that, I'm really interested to see the battle on the left side because we have Lucho and we have Cody Gakpo, both coming off great international tournaments, both vying for that starting spot, and that's going to surely push them on to great levels as well.
Absolutely.
If Cody gets a start, he's going to take it, in my opinion. What about you? Is there any surprise package for you? I mean, I know I've stumbled over this because I can't really think of one because I rate most of the players.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely well said. I think Darwin Núñez can be a surprise package because, as you mentioned, he's like a Marmite player. Some people believe in him, want him to hit the heights. Some people are absolutely fed up of him missing some chances. I think he has the chance to explode because this is the right coach, because Arne Slot was a number 10. He was a playmaker, an advanced midfielder who gives service to the forwards. He's even explaining training the body shape you should take to release a forward in some of the earlier training videos as well. So if he gets enough time, which he should do because Darwin Núñez is suspended for the international matches, to work closely with Núñez, to work on the runs and to work with the player behind him to play him in, then that can only be good news for Darwin Núñez, and especially getting him within the goalpost, the laterals of the goalpost, to have a clearer conversion opportunity rather than, a speculative one, for example. And one of the players that kind of facilitate this, and my surprise package for the season, is Harvey Elliott. And the reasoning behind this is now that Chiesa has come in, right? I think Harvey Elliott's right wing backup role has diminished. He is now the number 10 backup role for Szoboszlai. And what really is impressive about Harvey Elliott is the fact that when he receives the ball, he's always trying to get involved in the goal-creating opportunities. He's not a wasteful player. He's a very, very tidy player, coming in the last 15, 20 minutes with the mindset to change the game. Obviously, he scored a cracker last season, changing the game. You saw in pre-season as well, the lofted ball over the top to Fabio Carvalho, the Techers. He is that silky, diminutive player that can fit in between the lines, the David Silva, the Bernardo Silva, Juan Mata, Santi Cazorla kind of player. He can grow into that. And if you have that type of player behind a Jota and behind a Núñez for the tightest of doors, on occasion, he will find that perfect pass. And because he's closer to goal, he doesn't need to have the pace. He never had the pace anyway, right? So getting him away from the right wing and now having him behind the forward line, I think he's going to be the surprise package. I think he's going to get at least 10 assists this season.
I love Harvey Elliott. I named my dog Harvey after Harvey Elliott. I'm very happy to hear you say that, because I've always envisioned him as more of a David Silva type player than a wide forward. So I think it's a good shout. Yeah.
He is definitely a good lad as well. Everyone speaks very, very highly of Harvey Elliott. Now, until the January transfer window, we have what we have with this squad at the moment. If we go into the January transfer window neck and neck with Manchester City, so we've already established this is the squad we have, this is the squad that they have, tight race, this is a new manager, speculative in terms of what he will do in terms of tactics. Will they start to figure him out by the time we get there as well? Do you think, from what you've seen, we have enough about this squad and this manager to chase possibly the greatest front-leading manager in Pep Guardiola? Because it's not just the Manchester City machine with good players, it's obviously Guardiola effect, that he is ruthless. He churns out these results again and again. Do you think Slot and Liverpool, are you optimistic now? Are we ahead of Arsenal? I remember last time we spoke, you had us third in the free-wheel race. Are we ahead of Arsenal now, head-to-head with City?
No, I still think, if I'm being honest, there's not enough of a sample size for us to get carried away just yet. If we are there or thereabouts come January, like you've said, if we don't pick up injuries throughout that really busy festive period, yes, I think this is where his man management in the early part of the campaign might stand us in good stead. I'm a little bit against the January market. I don't really like us doing too much in it unless we really have injury problems, because you're writing off the second half of the season for this player to get up to speed anyway. So I don't really see you get the real benefit of that, particularly with a coach like Arne and Jurgen before, who want these guys to be fully up to speed before he introduces them in. Yeah, we'll be there or thereabouts. I mean, I just don't want to be that fan who gets too carried away too early just yet, because I've really liked what I've seen. I would rather us go under the radar side, to be honest with you. Let people keep writing us off and talking about Arsenal, Manchester City, and if we're still there or thereabouts, who knows? Yeah,
no, fair point, fair dues. And in terms of approach for the Champions League, if we are there or thereabouts for the Premier League and we're going into the final few months, what do you prioritise, the Premier League or the Champions League?
I love the European Cup. I know the answer that 95% of Liverpool fans are going to give is the Premier League. I just think there's something romantic, there's something beautiful, and I think for the vision of your club around the world, the Champions League is where you want to be at. So I would edge towards that. I'm very intrigued to see how this season goes, with every game now mattering in the Champions League format. So yeah, it's going to be great. I love the fixtures that we've got, and I love the mix of home and away, 8 different teams. Yeah, I'm going to stick with the European Cup. How about you?
The same. It's the prestige of being champions of Europe. The best teams across the continent are playing each other head to head, and we've got to shake off that Real Madrid voodoo. We simply have to. It's just unacceptable with the talent that we got, and you know, by hook or by crook, what they've done in the last few fixtures. I'm still remembering that time when, you know, Gerrard absolutely ripped them a new one against Casillas. Desena lobbed him as well. We even brought on Jay Spearing just for the lols as well. This was a fantastic, you know, time in the European kind of adventures. Benitez navigated his way through European fixtures better than anyone else. But Arne Slot in Europe, I think it's going to be a slightly different approach, because I just keep going back to the Atalanta match. We just seem so derived of ideas, right? In the Jurgen Klopp style, we batter the opposition. We're relentless until we batter down the door and they submit to our overpowering, you know, forward line. Whereas in Arne Slot system, it's kind of more intricate. It's kind of more my turn, your turn, chess kind of game. And then when we see the opportunity, then we strike. In Europe, I don't think many squads can compare to the firepower and additional lineup we can bring in and the options that we have to vary the gameplay. Because you remember Ancelotti said, of all the big teams, Liverpool were the most predictable in the way that they played, which is why he could set up against Liverpool. I don't think you can really predict an Arne Slot team. First of all, there's not a big enough sample size. Secondly, you know, he tweaks, even if the starting lineup is the same, he tweaks personnel, what he needs to do. And then there's the bench options as well. So yeah, I'm intrigued by what Arne Slot will do in Europe. Do you think he'll stick with the same kind of lineup that we've seen so far, or will he unleash Núñez and go for broke?
I think the only change will probably be Nunez. If we're talking about a strongest 11, I think right now he feels these are the 11 he can trust from what he's seen since he's come in. Darwin on a European night against those defences, I think it could be special. I remember Ancelotti and Benzema both speaking about how we lined up and how predictable we were and how there was going to be space between two centre-backs for them to exploit balls straight through the centre. And I hope that we can cause a few more concerns. And I do believe there's something about the European Cup in Liverpool. We carry ourselves a different way in that competition. We feel like European royalty, and Anfield on a European night is a truly special place. Amazing. So I think anything's possible in that competition. And imagine Arne delivered it in his first year. That would be incredible. Something absolutely special. Obviously, the Benitez years, Istanbul, that was an absolute... I mean, top 5 nights of my life, Istanbul. I can count that as a top 5 moment in my life, alongside birth of Aito, birth of Mia, my saying yes to marriage, Genzo Sakuden. It's a Japanese RPG game, but I went to the concert live, brings back lots of memories. And Istanbul fits nicely in that top 5 as well. Are there any Liverpool memories for you that stand out, in your lifetime? So obviously Istanbul is there as well. I was there. It was amazing. I was in Athens for that disappointment. For me, I think with the content journey I've gone on, the Barcelona game, because that was one of the first real moments on our channel where real emotion came from everybody. That comeback where we beat them 4-0 at Anfield, that's always going to hold a special place in my heart, because that was a night that I got to share that with our community all around the world, and I'll never forget that, mate. I'll never, ever forget that night. Only Liverpool could have done what we did that night. Yeah, absolutely. And even the missus was watching with me on the sofa watching that game, and she was so enthralled and embroiled in it, and you can tell the heart was beating as well. And we didn't have Firmino, we didn't have Salah, and to overcome Robbo that, went off injured as well. Yeah, no, absolutely right. And then Robertson shoving Messi's hair, the dying moments, Milner sitting, camping, protecting that ball, Wijnaldum coming up trumps off the bench angry. He's like, I'm going to change this game myself because you didn't start. It was written in the stars. I couldn't have thought of a more perfect night. And in terms of memories, well said, Craig, that stands out near the top. I think that is one to remember. Do you think Arne Slot will have one of those moments in his tenure? Do you think this is the type of manager that will give out a special Anfield European night? Absolutely. 100% he's going to have massive moments. I mean, another favourite of mine before we go is the Divock Origi goal against Everton, because we looked like it was all gone. Our title race was fading away. Verge mishit the shot, and we know the rest is history. Bounces off the bar. Divock Origi heads it in, clops on the pitch, chest bumping Alisson. That was incredible as well. Well said, my friend. Thank you so much for your time. I'm sure everyone absolutely loved this episode, full of positivity, full of good vibes going into international break. Any last words? Do you have a big project or anything exciting coming up, Craig? No, luckily I'm off on holidays for a week now. I usually try to plan a little break over the international windows because I'm not a big fan of international football, so I tend to go on a vacation. So I'm spending a week with my wife and my son over in Spain, so very much looking forward to that. And then, of course, coming straight back in afterwards and building up to the rest of the Premier League campaign. It's a pleasure coming on, Simon. I really appreciate your positive outlook. I really appreciate your content as well, and I hope that you continue to develop, you continue to grow your own community, because the world needs more people like yourself, more Liverpool fans like yourself, and it needs more crossovers like we're doing as well. Very, very kind of you, Craig. Thank you so much for spending the time. The big LFC community worldwide, it unites everyone together, and I'm sure everyone worldwide enjoyed that Manchester United result. So once again, thank you for coming on. Until next time, everyone, Miyazaki Man and Anfield Agenda, Ichiban, Janet, take care. Peace. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that collaboration with Craig from Anfield Agenda. I'm open to collaborating with any Liverpool content creator out there. Just get in touch. Thank you so much. Make sure to smash a like on the video. It helps this video get seen. Subscribe if you haven't already. Top-notch content coming up. The best way to support this channel is through YouTube membership. Cheaper than a cheeky Nando's side dish. So why not give it a go? Coming up in the members section, we have Miyazaki Mama Mai's 22-minute translation of Wataru Endo's vlog and my analysis, as well as the next few chapters of Endo's book, and my personal thoughts on other content creators like Isilla Football, Goldbridge, and other Liverpool content creators coming up very, very shortly. Thank you so much,
To all the members supporting the channel so far, with a special shout out for Joseph M, Jamie R, Christian, Debs P and Captain Has for going above and beyond. Shout out to you guys. First 100 member numbers are going incredibly quickly. We are already on 70. So if you want your exclusive member number on your one and done, one of a kind, only for the first 100 members, then make sure you join soon and pick your number and your persona name. Once 100 slots are filled up, we will begin production for your custom goodie, and that member number is yours forever. So once again, a huge thank you to all the members supporting the channel. You guys are the best. Hit my music.
Liverpool fan in Japan.